Welcome back, everybody. Today marks Lunar New Year, and it was about this time 1 year ago that concerns about the coronavirus started to rise across the GTA.
How did it impact the communities celebrating this holiday? We welcome our panel this morning. We have Amy Go, president of the Chinese-Canadian National Council for Social Justice. We have Kevin Au-Yeung, who is president of the Association of Chinese-Canadian Entrepreneurs, and Mary Tran, a teacher with the TDSB. Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to see you all. Thank you so much for being here. First things first, how are things shaping up this year? How will they look different, and how will you celebrate?
First of all, for ourselves, we usually have a big family gathering, and usually at our place. Last night was only the two of us, but we still have the same amount of food, so the food would just last 10 days instead of one night. But it was really, we were missing our family a lot.
Yeah, I'm missing the food. I can tell you that, that's for sure. I really want to be with my family and be able to share in the celebrations. And with that is, you know, we've seen a big change with a lot of our Asian businesses, specifically Chinese businesses within the last year, really struggling. And this is a question for you, Kevin. In this time, this is where you see a lot of people coming together, going to restaurants, joining as families. How is it impacting business now?
I mean, in terms of how the Chinese community, businesses-wise, is being impacted, is not very different in a sense that it's mostly pandemic-driven, and that in the past few months, a lot of people are facing lockdown. The retail businesses specifically are very hard hit, and they continue to struggle to stay afloat, and they are forced to learn how to pivot, I guess, right? Everyone's trying to digitize business, and whether it's promoting their businesses and companies online, Google, WeChat, etc. And a lot of independent restaurants also are trying to pivot. For example, preparing home cooked meals and frozen dim sum and stuff like that. Having said that, I guess a lot of businesses are doing quite okay, who are in different industries, selling to home products, nutrition products, etc. So.
And on top of everything that's already, been hurting us this year, there's been a stark increase in East Asian racism. So I want to ask Mary, are you seeing this in classrooms? What's happening in classrooms?
Well, since we've moved to virtual spaces, it's a little bit harder for us to, pinpoint and see. But when I was in the classroom, this was, just as COVID was on the rise. We were still in school. I did notice some of our East Asian students, who were very few in one of the schools I was at, internalize some of what was happening around them, and they would make comments about themselves, sort of just, if they would cough in class, they would joke and say, oh, maybe it's corona. And a lot of that is internalized for them. And I think in anticipation of getting ahead of what their peers might say or think about them, prolonged experience within the system, for them, that's sort of how they have expressed that. In terms of direct, I haven't really seen it because we are in a virtual space right now.
And I know we had someone on just in the last week, I believe it was on Monday, from the TDSB, talking about a resource to combat anti-Asian racism, because it is so very important to talk about that from such a young age, because you bring those conversations into your home, which is so very important. But we also are celebrating Chinese Lunar New Year as a way to celebrate, and I want to make sure we put that big word celebrate, because there is a lot to celebrate. And Amy, we're talking about the Year of the Ox. So what is the Year of the Ox? We gave a bit of a summary earlier on, but for all of our viewers who are joining for us now, what does this year mean?
Ox mean, of course, China is an agricultural country, right? Ox is very important in the country that relies on farming, and so it symbolizes hard work. It symbolizes the resilience, and in fact, this is a very appropriate symbol of resilience for the communities, regardless of how hard we were hit by the pandemic, economically, socially, and also mentally, because of the rising anti-Asian racism. The communities still, remain strong, and in terms of really gathering and fighting and combating the impact of pandemic and racism, I think in a way it's a very appropriate symbol for that.
Amy, Kevin, Mary, thank you so much for your time this morning and for being with our viewers this morning. And we wish everybody a safer, happier, healthier Lunar New Year. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Resilience. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so key. Perfect. Very fitting this year. All right, coming up this hour, we're going to continue our conversations around Black History Month as well. So coming up after the break, we have renewed calls to rename streets like Jarvis and Dundas due to the historical figures with ties to slavery. So we're going to break it down with City News reporter Erica Natividad with more on this story coming up.